Welcome to Political Sandbox by Chamber. We're pleased to be here today for our special episode at the Royal Horticultural Society Chelsea Flower Show, where we'll be joined by the Royal Entomological Society's Chair, Jane Hill, and also Minister for Biosecurity, Richard Benyon. See you in a second. Richard, thanks for joining us today for the show. You've been walking around the other Chelsea gardens, so what's your main highlight that you've seen so far?
Well, it's a fantastic show, as it always is, but I think that what the RHS is so clever about is that they theme it and they encourage stands like this that is just so special because it's got a message. And also there's a sustainability thread that goes through it, and no stand is going to end up in a skip. It's all going to end up somewhere. This one is going to end up next to the Olympic Park with a message about biodiversity. You know, there are 30 million gardeners, and every single one of them is part of what we need as a society to reverse the decline of species. And so Chelsea is a really important showcase for some of the great ideas, and just this wall behind us is just one of them.
Jane, this is such an amazing structure, but also it's got a lot of messages behind it as well. So what's your message from this garden designed by Tom?
So I think the great thing about Chelsea Flower Show and people who want to come, I mean, we just love our gardens, and gardens are for people, and we love being in them, and we love doing gardening. And I guess the message for this from our garden here, that's from the Royal Entomological Society, is that you can look after your garden and make sure it's good for insects too. So these are fabulous gardens, but there are lots of ideas for how you can make your garden better for insects, whether that be planting plants that are really good flowers for nectaring insects, or whether it's one that is eaten by the caterpillars. It's about bringing insects into your garden and recognising of the benefits that insects brings to people as well. So whether they're pollinators or whether they're just beautiful things that we love to look at, it's about making sure that we manage our gardens so that insects are welcome there as well.
And that long-term education narrative is going to continue after the show. I think you're taking the garden to Stratford, I think. So what are you doing after the show?
Well, the great thing about having a permanent place for the garden is that we can talk and engage the public a lot more and think about how you could change what you have in your garden so you continue to enjoy it, but the insects enjoy it as well. And talking to people who've come into the garden today, we've given them lots of ideas for the sorts of things that they could do. So it's not about having an unpleasant garden or somehow one that you're not enjoying, but just making some tweaks and changing it a little bit means that it'll be a fabulous garden with insects in it as well.
And Richard, the government's got a really substantial plan in respect of tackling sustainability and also biodiversity and hitting targets. What's the sort of overall message that you're looking to take to gardeners around the country today?
I'm not expecting every gardener to read the Des Gupta report, but it does say precisely what we're trying to achieve across society, which is that not only is the decline of species, whether they're insects or species of plants or animals, it's not only an environmental catastrophe, it's an economic one. And through reversing that by the measures we can take as government, but the private sector philanthropy and individuals who just might have a corner, might be even a window box, everybody can play their part in perhaps the greatest challenge humanity's ever faced, which is to create a sustainable planet. And that is just so fundamental to what gardeners are all about. And I've just been on a stand which is the smallest garden there's ever been at Chelsea, and it's built on just by Grenfell Tower, and it's about, not only does gardening, horticulture and greenery of any sort heal our planet, it heals our minds as well, it heals us physically. And so that thread of a societal recovery is something that's just fundamental to what we're trying to achieve and what the RHS and what Royal Entomological Society are about, and it's awe-inspiring.
Absolutely. And you've got a commitment to hit peat-free by 2024 as a government. Are you on target to hitting that target? And for gardeners like myself, we're all trying our best to go peat-free. How do we sort of broaden the alternatives out there to peat?
Well, enormous work has been done, but we've got to do more. I mean, it is really important that we hit our targets. It's actually written into law that we have to be net zero by 2050, and this is part of it. But we want to make sure that we are doing it in a way that is sympathetic. So that's why we're starting with the non-commercial sector. The commercial sector will be able to transition with some exemptions, and we want to make sure that we're doing this in a balanced way. But we have been talking about this since 2011, when we published the Natural Environment White Paper. And now it's time to really step up. And science and the real understanding about the alternatives is now helping us. And government's got to play its part, but other organisations can do their bit. But it's actually down to those of us that buy plants to make sure that we're sourcing them from peat-free alternatives.
Absolutely. And Jane, obviously you're a huge champion of biodiversity and also bringing more insect life into the garden and into the wider landscape too. What's your message to gardeners out there who want to make that difference at home?
Yes, I think you can be inspired by some of the fabulous gardens here and see the beautiful plants that you can get that the insects love. So I mean, when I go and choose plants, when I go to my local garden centre, I always have a look around and see where the bees are and think, well, if the bee's chosen that plant, then maybe that's the one I'll take home as well. So it's about understanding that not all plants are loved by insects to the same extent, and by making some choices, you can buy things that are going to be much more successful in terms of producing enough nectar and so on. And one of the things about this location here, of course, is we're going to be doing some insect counts as well, and citizen scientists who go out and count insects provide really important data that allow the government and NGOs and so on to understand a lot more about the changes to our insects in our landscapes around us. So getting more people involved as citizen scientists to do these counts of insects is really important, and that information is absolutely crucial to the science that we do.
Absolutely. And Richard, in terms of your wider message on sustainability this Chelsea Flower Show, what would you say to gardeners and everyone out there who wants to get involved?
First of all, there's great guidance about exactly what Jane was saying about the kind of plants that we should be planting that enhance biodiversity. But I suppose the other message is that for government, I think that we have got to, using my words carefully, weaponise 30 million people in this country who are already committed because they are already gardening, to be a great force for good in trying to reverse the decline of species that I was talking about earlier. And I'm full of admiration, not just for what the RHS is doing, Kew, which I'm responsible for in government, Natural History Museum, all these organisations, Royal Entomological Society, doing really good work in getting that message across. And it just feels, when you come to a place like this, and it's very easy to get swept away with it because there's so many enthusiastic, wonderful people. But I just sense that this is a moment that we can all use.
Look, that's a really important message to be hearing today, and I can't wait to go and look around the other gardens this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us, and huge congratulations to putting this
just
entire
amazing. It's so inspiring, isn't it?
Beautiful, and congratulations to Tom as well for the design.
Well, inside an insect's eye. Have you got? I mean, this is just amazing. It's a compound eye. It's wonderful.
It's very cool. Very cool. If you'd like to join us for further conversations about sustainability, you can download our next journal, our sustainability special and coronation special for that matter as well, at www.chamberuk.com/newsletter. Thank you very much.